we are in a time of great uncertainty. We don't know what, we do know what economies are doing. They're going down. In the UK alone, we've had the beginnings of a recession. It's going to get a lot worse when we get the figures for the next quarter. And this will be reflected across the world, I'm sure.
I think I know where you're coming from. I mean, yes, it gives me goosebumps just to even think about what happened. I mean, you look every day at the stock market falling percentages that over a course of a week would be something to put in the headlines, and yet we're seeing numbers on a daily basis here, -2 to -8, 7, 8, 9%. I mean, it's almost unbelievable to see it happening. Let's hope that the recovery is a V-shaped recovery and it bounces back quickly. But I don't know what will happen, and I think there will be a recession and maybe even some sort of a depression even after this.
Does this mean you're going to have to toughen your own due diligence on clients, given the uncertainty in economies? Because as we've just discussed, it has undermined the wealth of some boat owners.
Yes, I mean, the people who we're building boats for at the moment, I mean, it's not a huge number of people, and we know them well. And of course, the nature of the business is that they have to make advance payments. So, for those yachts that are already well into construction, a large chunk of those boats are already paid for. I don't see any risk with any of our owners at the moment. With regard to taking on new customers, of course, there's already now, thanks to legislation, quite a laborious process required of KYC to know exactly who you're dealing with. So before you even get close to it, signing, pretty clear of the capabilities of somebody to see the whole thing through. I don't see that as a big risk, no.
I don't want to sound gloomy, but you mentioned the D word, depression, yourself, and we do know that it is an expensive luxury indulgence is a super yacht. And we know there was this first generation of super yachts in the 1930s, before the Great Depression, between the wars, and the Depression itself and the war subsequently put an end to that first generation of super yachts. They were owned by what I call the Gilded Age, industrialists and bankers, the Rothschilds, the JP Morgans and the Vanderbilts. And it took over 30 or 40 years for the industry to regain its momentum and shift to an even higher gear to where it stands today. Pandemic, do you think, threatening the stability of the entire industry? Are we likely to see owners abandoning yachting entirely?
I don't think so. I mean, first of all, the depression was back in the 1930s was really, really severe, and there were far less sophisticated instruments available to manage a catastrophe of that nature. The world is much more of an egalitarian place now. That extreme wealth is spread more widely across many more countries. And secondly, as you mentioned, it was followed by a brutal 6-year war, which devastated economies and lives. And it's really not surprising that it took 20, 30 years or more to recover after that. I mean, it was all hands to the pump to keep the countries running, leave aside the luxury. And I don't really pandemic will generate or give birth to a depression of those magnitudes. And certainly there's no sign of, touch wood, and should one say it, of any aftermath of the 1930 depression. No, the world is a much more stable, settled place now. Wealth is so much wider spread around the world. I can't see it happening, no.
We're all having to learn this social distancing, which looks like it's going to carry on for months, many months into the future, maybe more than that. The World Health Organization said yesterday that COVID-19 could be here with us for good. Who knows? That might be, again, quite a depressing prospect, but there's still so much we don't know about it. Yourselves, all manufacturers, all businesses are having to introduce new procedures for both management and employees. Could you just explain a little bit the procedures you've introduced at Heesen to ensure that boat builders and fitters are working at a safe distance apart?
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, good question. I would just say that here at Heesen Shipyard, we have never shut the yard. We haven't had any lockdown or stoppage of work at all. We took some pretty big decisions right at the beginning. We first of all doubled the number of shifts we run and halved the number of people working on the boats. Now, this is going back to end of February we did this. We also reorganized our canteen so that people were sitting a safe distance apart. We reorganized the entry and exit arrangements for the shipyard so people weren't close to each other. We immediately instigated a work from home arrangements. I mean, we're quite lucky because the shipyard is reasonably well organized for people working from different places because of the nature of what we do. And so the result of these arrangements are that we haven't had one day of closure. Yes, I mean, I would be lying to say we're unaffected. It would be completely wrong. I mean, there has been a drop in productivity, a small dip, but we've bounced back out of that again now, and we're almost back to where we should be. And that's the reason why none of for owners are delayed. They're all on time. To be perfectly honest with you, we have rescheduled 2 or 3 of our speculative builds in order to, because that's less critical, obviously, than doing it for the boat owners. But we've still got them all organized so that they'll be ready for summer deliveries next year. So I don't think that'll have a big impact. I think we've been very lucky. The Netherlands is also one of those countries where they are very organized people. It's a smallish country, and they managed the whole thing very well, hence coming out of this lockdown a bit sooner. But I go back to where I started. I just remember 2.5 months ago was when we went into lockdown, and the world looked like a pretty grim place. We're now talking about coming out of lockdown. Where will we be in 2.5 months from now?
I think what you've just said, I would emphasize, and I hope anyone watching will realize that for a boat builder to never have any problems with having to shut down the yards is, well, I'm not saying it's unusual, but many have had much bigger problems, even in the better times. So I would have thought that people would feel quite assured if they were going to build a yacht with you. And you've already said that I'm quite surprised by what you said, that you've been able to assure clients their boats will be built to schedule, because I would have thought, that would have been impossible at the moment.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so. Thank you. The Dutch are very organized people. It's almost a religion to follow a timetable, and things happen on time when they're supposed to happen. And none of the Dutch shipyards have shut. I know other countries have suffered much more severely than Holland, but Northern Europe has been a little bit, Northern Europe. Holland has been a little bit, has got off lighter than the rest of us.
And that has to be a competitive advantage, surely, in this business.
100%, yes, absolutely. So it's nice to be able to reassure owners that the shipyard is reliable, still there, and they'll be on time. It's nice. It makes my life easier.
I know you've refined your management procedures while you're sitting at home at the moment. So people who are able to work at home are working at home. Those working practices have ensured the continuity of existing orders. To what extent is this an element of crisis management, or will you have learned lessons from this?
Well, we'll certainly approach the way the shipyard operates with a wary eye on anything like this coming out again. So we'll be much more prepared. I say much more prepared. I'd like to say I think we were, under the circumstances, we were already quite well prepared for it. But yes, I mean, one's going to be organized if such a thing ever occurs. What other changes will there be? I mean, I know there's a lot of people saying that, that there'll be more working from home, less traveling into offices and all the rest of it. But, 99.9% of the people who work at Heesen work with, in or close to OS, so there's no real requirement for them to be working at home. People like myself, an Englishman who lives in England, in the early stages, I will have to find a way of getting there. So it's going to be a huge pain for me, but I'll probably be myself and Sarah, the head of PR, will also have the same problem. But at the end of the day, it's a people person. We need owners, clients, brokers, captains, all the rest of them to come to the shipyard to touch the project, touch the product, talk to us. So I don't think anything much will change in shipbuilding the way in yacht building. To be honest, it's too personal.
So, do you expect the industry to return to business as usual when the pandemic has subsided?
Well, not immediately, no. And maybe there will be some shipyards that do suffer. It's really, really hard to tell. What the appetite of the world will be after this, because it's really hard to tell what the final reckoning will be. I just don't know. I can. There's an argument that says maybe everything will go to hell in a handcart and there'll be few of us left standing. There's also an argument to say that when we come out of this, the world will recover quite quickly. It could be a V-shaped recovery, and people with money will be keen to get out and enjoy themselves.
Are there practices that you've introduced in the company that you might keep in the long run? I wonder what lessons you've learned in your response to this crisis, and beyond that, also what issues are keeping you awake at night?
What would we learn? I mean, I think cleanliness and a working environment are important. But I hate to say it, but if ever you come to our shipyard before, during, or after, our shipyard is very, very clean. We have people cleaning the yachts on a daily basis, and we will continue that and probably continue it more rigorously. What keeps us awake at night at the moment? Well, it's the same old thing. It's the fact that we just can't get clients, brokers, captains, and all the rest of it to come to the shipyard, and that is a serious problem. And until we can overcome that one, it's going to be difficult to continue.
I have been to your shipyard and I've seen how it works, and I think people who haven't been might be impressed at the sort of air conditioning you have, that you have to keep the dust at bay. I would have thought that would help with keeping the virus at bay as well.
For sure, yes. I mean, we have state-of-the-art heating and cooling systems in the shipyard. I mean, by virtue of what they are, those sheds are enormous sheds. So there's a lot of space to work around there. Let's be positive. I mean, let's hope that, okay, maybe there is a report that the virus could be with us forever, but humans are clever people. They're ingenious people. We are an ingenious race. They will, if there's not a cure to it found in the next weeks or months, then there will be a solution to how we can all live together normal lives with it. I believe it. We overcame the Spanish flu back in 1918. We will overcome these things.
So, do you think Heesen will emerge from the crisis stronger than ever?
Stronger than ever. Well, certainly I'd like to say no weakened, that's for sure. What the playing field is immediately after the crisis and in the months that follow that, very hard to tell. The lack of boat shows makes it difficult for us to show our product off around the world. So I think we'll all be knocked sideways to a degree or not, and hopefully be able to go back to the boat shows and show our yachts to the public. I really hope that's the case, and that we're not trying to organise events with 2-metre social distancing.
Do you think it's inevitable that some yards will fail?
No, I don't think it's inevitable that some yards will fail. I mean, after the financial crisis in 2008, 2009, we all thought that it would be a wholesale decimation of yacht building and all the rest of it. But I mean, there were some casualties. But if you think back on it now, I think virtually all of those shipyards that went out of business in the crisis are now back again building yachts.
Do you think this is a bigger crisis than 2008, 2009?
If it ends tomorrow, no. If it goes on till September, October, 100% yes.
I don't have a crystal ball, so it's very difficult for you to say what timescales we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, impossible. If it's of any benefit, I got a message this afternoon saying that that they've confirmed that the Cannes boat show is going to go ahead in September. There's a bold statement.
Yeah, but nothing from Monaco yet.
Nothing from Monaco yet. But you know, all the spring boat shows have been cancelled. We've lost that. Yeah, the next one is Cannes, Monaco, Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
Really hard to tell. If they don't go ahead, tricky.
Yeah. Mark, I've just about finished what I have to say. Is there anything you want to add before we wind up?
No, it's very nice to speak to you, and you've certainly asked me some tricky questions there, which has left me reeling for a bit. But but it's the truth, and it needs to be aired. We're doing our best to protect our company, to protect our employees. I think we're luckier than most, which is great. And let's hope that, as I say, let's just hope that this either ends soon or somebody clever somewhere comes up with a solution. I remain optimistic, but then I'm a salesman, so I have to be.
Great stuff. Well, that's it from us today, but stay tuned. We've one more video lined up for you, and that's Thom Conboy from the Fort Lauderdale office. He's going to be speaking with Bill Springer about the US market. So for now, thanks for joining us. Stay safe and remain optimistic. As the Dutch like to say, when life gives you a lemon, make a lemonade. Goodbye and take care.